So I'll mute my hangouts now. Hello everyone, welcome to Chrome Dev Summit Extended. It's so good to have you all again, and this is our second event in GDG Singapore, and I hope that we can put up some good program for you today. Once again, welcome to GDG Singapore. We are very much grateful for you to kind of spending your Saturday afternoon or morning or evening wherever you are. We hope that you learned something today, and I'm pretty sure that we have some interesting programs for you. So I hope that after lunch we're sleepy, but I think hopefully we can keep you awake for the rest of the session. Before anything else, we'd like to thank all our friends and partners from different parts of Southeast Asia who have been so generous enough to share our event in their community. Thank you once again, and hope we can continue to partner with you. We also have an incredible amount of participants here today from all over Southeast Asia, Central Asia, parts of Europe. We are very, very excited to have you all with us. Welcome. And this is our YouTube channel. We are looking for more subscribers as usual. So if you are interested to continue to enjoy the events that we will be putting up in the future, please do subscribe. And that having said, we are looking for volunteers. We are first looking for a designer. As you might know, we are engineers. We are not very good with art. So if you are interested to kind of help us in our area of weakness, we would really, really appreciate it. We also need someone to help take care of our Firebase and Flutter projects. So if you're interested, please do email us. We would be very, very excited to work with you. As you might know as well, in our Facebook, we have been advertising Better Together campaign. It's an idea whereby, like, during this COVID-19 season, live events is not that common right now, but we can do our events online, and everyone can benefit from the talks that we put up. And so if we actually wanted to ask for your help, your support, also to share our events with your friends, your family, like your community, so that we all benefit from events like this. Um, that having said, we have an event next week, which is ML Developer Day. You might have seen us advertising this in our Facebook page and our Meetup page as well. There'll be a group of speakers, one from Africa, one from Hong Kong, and one from India. So we have a very, very diverse group of speakers, and hope that like we can continue to bring in people from all over the globe to speak in our events. We have also promised an Android event last month, and we are going to be inviting two developer advocates from Google to share with us what's new in Android 11. And this would be a very, very good chance for you to talk to them, ask burning questions. So if you have friends who's working on Android, especially those who are looking forward to Android 11, please do ask them to sign up. We will be putting up more information in a few days. Last event also, we have mentioned that we will be doing an Android Day. It will be in June. More details to come. We are also working with the Google marketing platform. We are in the final stages of trying to iron this out. So we're still looking for a date. And if you are interested to speak as well, please do let us know. We will be sharing this in YouTube as well. And we will be having a Firebase event. There's no date, there's no time, but it will be in YouTube Live. So please hang on to it. And we are always looking for speakers. It doesn't matter whether you're from Singapore or not. If you want to speak in our events, we would be very, very happy to have you. And especially during this time of the COVID season, like the events where you will be speaking will be streamed in many different parts of Southeast Asia and other parts of the world. So this would be a very good time for you to create a tremendous impact to the community and help the community. You can follow us in this several links here. Yeah, let's see. We are about to start Chrome Dev Summit. We have a group of wonderful speakers for today. And you're very much welcome to ask questions while the speaker is speaking. And towards the end of the topic, we will be allocating some time for the speakers to answer your questions. Um, that having said, I'd like to introduce first Pankaj. Pankaj is MVP, most valuable professional from Microsoft, and he's also a GDE for web technologies. He'll be talking to us about the evolution of web and where it is heading. Pankaj, it's your turn. Take it away.
And having me here. Yeah. So can I see my screen? It is. Yeah. Okay, nice. So let's get started. So in this session I will be walking through all the web evaluation journey where we will be looking at each part of web, what was it before, and what challenges have been faced, and how we have improvised the web. And also in this session, you can relate why we are using the top trend technology these days on front end like Angular, React, or maybe a Vue. So I hope you would enjoy the session. And also one thing, like I had tried to put all these technology images, but there is no choice. Like I have missed few things, so I know that. Okay, so let's move ahead. Uh, so before starting, let's get from the beginning of how web works. So I know I will spend only half minute how it works. So basically, on the left hand side you can see a client, and the right hand side you can see a server. So basically, whenever we need to access any website, we enter the its domain address, basically domain name. And basically internally what happens is it connects with the DNS, and DNS sends us back the actual IP address, and that actual IP address will internally send to the actual server, which where it is located, and we get the HTML page. And that's how the web works, and we can see the pages on our browser. But then, the very start thing is the World Wide Web, which is www. So it has been invented by Tim Berners-Lee in 1989. And I would like to share the little story behind it. So basically, this guy is working for Sun, CARN company, where all the scientists were working together. And the problem what they have is each scientist was working on a different projects. So if someone gets stuck at something, and if they want to ask for help, they have to go actual for coffee and ask the question to the peer person. And this guy want to solve the problem in such a way that everyone will know like who is working on what, and their particular white papers on some network based hub. So he created a document and other resource sharing platform where people can put in their work and their documents, and from that other person can see what exactly it is in. So this solved the problem. So in between that, um, he has invented HTML, which is hypertext markup language, HTTP hypertext transfer protocol, and then URI. So basically each resource will have its own identifier. So that this is what the URI is. And after that, in 1994, the W3C org has been a committee has been founded, and that's what the maintaining all the web standard. So little bit about myself. I'm working as a senior software engineer over here in Singapore, Deskera. I'm also MS MVP, GD, and I also have one open source NGX lib, and also I contribute to Stack Overflow. So if you want to follow me, you can follow me on with Pankaj Parkar handle on GitHub, LinkedIn, or anywhere, Twitter. So let's get back to the topic. So this is very initial page that have been went live in 1993. So if you look at this, you will feel like you are reading the newspaper. So this is what the wave before, like it's like, just putting the text onto the page, and there can be some images which will be zip. So this is how it was looking like, but and we were calling it as a static HTML pages because we don't have the dynamic content at that time. So you can see that this is like vertical layout. You don't have any CSS to apply. Also, you can show images with a GIF format, and that is also supported. And that's it, nothing else. So then I would like to little bit give an overview of HTML journey, how it have been happened. So in HTML1, we have a form, table, and input and button. That's the only thing which we have, very basic, to show the HTML. But later on, the HTML 2.0 version came in 1995, which included the form-based file upload and tables feature. So basically, table has some keywords in HTML 1.0. So those have been improved in 1995. Until the time, there was no JS and CSS. So all the things were static. So this is how it could have been look like at those days, like, very vague button. I mean, no CSS and all. Um, So later on in 1996, JavaScript has been invented by Braden Ike, and then after the next year, CSS has been introduced, and these two things have changed the way we have been looking at the web. Basically, JavaScript have been helping us to do a dynamic operations, like dynamic operation in the sense, if you want to manipulate any DOM, highlight a color on the fly, and CSS helps to decorate the page to make it beautiful. And this is the further history of it. In HTML3 has been went into 1996, but for some reason it have been abandoned. So 3.2 came at last in 1997, and those standards have been revised, and then finally 1997 HTML4 came, and that became the official standard. So before this, what people were doing is people were creating their own extensions, and the extensions are very browser specific. Like if you are developing any website, it may work in Internet Explorer, but it might not work in the Navigate Escape or the other browser. So that was the problem. But after that, they have made some standard, and everybody should have followed that standard. So extension things have been went away, and everybody started integrating all the standards as per the whatever mentioned in the W3C official standard. And then, after HTML4, you could have make your website look like this, very beautiful, that can have an animation, kind of animation and all. But then we started to think, as soon as the JavaScript came into the picture, we started to think in some way, like, can we make a dynamic HTML pages? So with JavaScript, we can make it. But what about if we want to render a data from the server? So we have languages like PHP, MySQL, or .NET, Java. So what we started doing is we have those HTML pages on the server side itself, and when we ask for some URL, suppose index website abcxyz.com/index. So that time it went to the server and it get the index HTML page, and it rendered the PHP and MySQL thing on the server side itself and send back to the server, and the page gets rendered. Okay. And also there were some few things were happening behind the scenes for dynamic web to make it dynamic. So initially there were common gateway interface that came in 1993, then Perl, then PHP2, and PHP2, then the ASP, Java, those guys come into the picture, and they started contributing to the dynamic web. And these things were quite interactive because they were following the SOAP REST standards, and also they were serving the page from the server itself. Uh, And that's where the adoption of web started. So basically the technology leader like Microsoft and all came into the picture, and they have started .NET, Java, PHP, with their respective pages like ASPX, JSP, and applets. And what they did is they gave us a code behind where we will be writing our code, and later on that will be filled up and send it back to the client, whoever asked for it. Okay, and that is how the dynamic web was before. So to give a gist of it, you can see that you can relate this. This is the ASPX page, which is a .NET page, where what we used to do is any .NET variable that I want to bound to the HTML, that can be using some kind of uh, parenthesis, angle bracket start percentage and percentage angle bracket closing. So basically, what this will help is this will get the product name from somewhere from the list.aspx.cs, which is code behind. And same thing for JSP page. This also have some kind of wrapper around the variable name, and it helps to evaluate a page value from the a respective Java class. And this is what we call it as a server side rendering. Basically what we used to do in those days, like client asked for hit for some URL, and that went to the server. And what server do is like basically it find the page based on the route. Basically default.aspx or main.aspx is search for that page in the view template, in the views that have been registered. And as soon as it gets the view, it passes that view to the template engine. And if there are any code written behind the scene which is interacting with TP, it fills up the value here, and it creates the final HTML page, and that HTML page sent back to the client, and it gets rendered on the browser. So this is like whenever you need any page, that will go via server. Okay, so that was the server side rendering was. But there are challenges. Okay, what is the challenges? If you want to get a large data set and that you want to render it on the server, it was taking a lot of time, maybe minute or two. And and also you were pushing the logic of data binding on the server side. That also increases the load of the page, and also it affects the initial page load. And each time you click on any page, the page gets re-rendered. That's not good for UX. So what people thought is like, let's try to do something. Let's before having a like this code behind and all, let's try to reformat this. So they have introduced the MV star patterns, and they try to segregate the code. And basically after doing this, they have achieved a little bit of performance gain, so that the code was getting reused, some things were made little bit performant. But this was not significant amount of solution for what the prop challenges we are facing. And before, what we used to have is, if we have a so-called REST line, we have XML way to communicate with the server. Like XML is like this have a nodes can have its value or attribute and all. So, but then if you want to do some funky stuff in between, somewhere around 2007, I think, what had happened is you have a something came into the picture, which is the Flash animations, where you will be using Flash plugins to develop the web, and you can embed the video, audio, and on click of each button you can play it, or do some funky animation and all. So that was very good and it was working. But the only challenging thing was with the Flash, the Flash sites were take too long to load on the web browser, because earlier we don't have a very fast speed of the internet, and these sites were very heavy. It almost took like 2-3 minutes to load it. So people were using it at the beginning, but later on they saw that it is not that performant. Also, in between this all, in 1999, XML HTTP request came into the picture, and this particular, in short, this is Ajax. Okay, so what happened is, after XML HTTP request came into the browser, landed into the browser, people changed their way to look at the web. So they started thinking like, yeah, this can help me to load the dynamic content on the page. I don't need to do a server side rendering each time, so I can only refresh a part of a page whenever needed. So basically, Yahoo also, at the same time, Yahoo also offered the web-based service JSON API, and the XML HTTP request code look like something like this. So this is very simple, but some people find it very, not very, but little bit not good to use. So jQuery came into the picture, and they have built the $.ajax wrapper around it so that the API may look nicer. And that's how where the jQuery got little bit famous, and also they were doing a DOM manipulation in simpler way. And this is what the JSON is. In 2000, around 2000, JSON have been invented by Douglas Crockford, and you will see that JSON is quite little bit lighter weight than the XML, because it don't have a node and attribute and all. You just have to mention the property and its value in object form. So you will be saving few bytes of information while transmitting over the wire. So then people started like, yeah, what we can do right now is we have Ajax, we have JSON. So can't we do something like we can separate out the server part and client part altogether? So that what we can do is, the earlier we were facing a challenge of rendering a data onto the server, correct? So server is also taking care of binding on an HTML page, rendering, not rendering, basically the forming of the HTML. So by doing this, by separating both the thing, we can have a separate RESTful API and the separate web page. So by that way, we can achieve some performance gain. And also we can utilize the browser features, like browser caching and all other things. So that's the where the client side rendering came into the picture. So now server will only have actions or a method that will serve a data, and this is the client side rendering architecture. So basically, this is the client, which is a browser, and this is the server. So basically, client have a HTML, JS, and CSS. So initially we ask for index.html that have been served by the uh, server, and thereafter all the things will start happening on the client side itself. So we basically ask for a data whatever we need. Like suppose I want to show the user view, I will ask for user data, and server will process it and will respond to the server data. I will using the XHR and some JavaScript. I will render that data on the JavaScript on the browser. Okay, so that is how we thought about the client side rendering. And this kind of problem are very easy to solve. Like I want to do some validation of username, I can do that using Ajax call, but earlier this was quite hectic to do. So there were a server post back, so we have to handle the each post by using each post back flag and all. So this kind of problem have been solved, but then again we went to the depth and we started thinking, oh, now we are able to do dynamic things on a page, and now we can also separate out each page separately in the HTML form. So we, like suppose this is a website, this has a three HTML pages, uh, home, contact, and about. So home HTML will have its own content, same contact and about. But then you will see that while navigating between the home, contact, and about, what you will see that if you look at this page, the inner content is already is going to be replaced. On click of contact, it will load the contact. On click of about, it will load the about content, and on click of home, it will load the home page content. So don't you think, like, even though we are only loading the middle part, we are loading thorough page and with its JavaScript, CSS, and JS resources. So yeah, we were doing that. So basically, what we can do is we can improvise this. When we land on the home page, yeah, load everything. But when we land on the other contact page, we can replace this part only. So that's where the SPA came into the picture. So how we started thinking is, we can just place a placeholder element on our page, which could be making sure that it will be watching in the URL, and based on the URL, it will load the particular template and its JavaScript code inside the DOM. So this is how we can do that. We can configure in such a way that home will load home component, about will load about, and contact will load the contact template. Okay, and this is how the SPA have been thought. Then SPA have few problems. Like whenever your application gets in a bigger state, we the initial page load gets very good amount of time. That is not good in terms of UX. And also SEO becomes difficult. The reason behind SEO becomes difficult is, you know about the crawler. Crawler doesn't understand the JavaScript. So when you give such kind of pages to the crawler to crawl it on your page, so it won't work because JavaScript is disabled on that instance. So basically this is like quite tough to manage with SPA to do the SEO thing. It is manageable right now. I will come to that part afterwards. But yeah, for at that instance that wasn't there. So the solution was, first thing is to improvise the performance. Bundling and minification can be there so that there will be less resources to be loaded in the browser, and because of that there will be less server side round trip. Also we have applied a few compression techniques to um, compress the bundle size. Then lazy loading meaning, each bundle can be loaded whenever it required. Like on home page we can only load the home page bundle. On contact page we can only load the contact page resources which are required for a contact. And SEO's problem can be have been solved by hashbang mode that has been introduced by Google in those days. So basically, before your hash URL, there is explanation mark that have been introduced. But after some time, that latter time, it have been removed for some reason because other webmaster were not supporting that. And also in those days only, responsive design, the mobile market has been went up, and people started thinking like one website should work on all the platform. And we started thinking in different way now. Like we want to define a responsive web just by having a single code base. And also we have found that like each device takes a different amount of time to parse the JavaScript. So this is the article. You can go ahead and read that by Eddie Osmani about what are the different device takes how much time to parse the small JavaScript file. And suddenly, what had happened in 2007? Apple announced that they are not going to support Flash at all because of many reasons. Like it is not, it is very heavy and all. But then thereafter, people have basically that time also, only Flash have been died, and people started moved out from the Flash, and they started looking for an alternative. And that's where the responsive design have been introduced. And the Twitter and the Zhub Foundation, they have introduced some frameworks which are like CSS framework. You can use those class, and that class will make sure like that CSS rules will make sure that it will work on all the devices or platforms. Okay. And the next problem that we started appearing or maybe started facing in the next days are data binding. What is data binding? Data binding is, if you have a JavaScript variable that is there inside the JavaScript and you want to use that same variable onto the client side, show it somewhere onto the page, it is data binding. You are binding the model value to the view or the HTML. But if you look at this page and if you thought about this page to render via using JavaScript, normal JavaScript, or maybe a jQuery, you will see that you have to write a lot of imperative code that will specifically focusing on a DOM and then inserting a text into it. And that isn't nice. So people tried to solve the data binding problem with SPA. And before earlier there were a knockout, backbone, this kind of framework, and they were solving this problem, but things was becoming very what I can say very difficult when it comes to a complex object to bind onto the UI. So then Angular JS came into the picture in 2012, and they had solved that problem elegantly. And the same time the React, Orilla, Mithril, Angular that came after the some time, and these guys help to solve this problem in much better way. Then we still need a faster page loading time, correct? It is not like we have discussed like there were problems, we haven't solved them, we have solved them partially but not thoroughly. So what people started thinking is, people went back again to the server side rendering, but now they said that we will use a Node.js, okay, using Node. So what is it like? Why Node? Because Node understands JavaScript. It can also help us to render the page onto the server side as well. Okay, or it can form the HTML over there, and it can throw up directly to the browser. Okay. Also, it has Chrome V8 engine, which is there inside of Chrome. Also, we can use the JavaScript on server side to render some kind or do some kind of JavaScript operations. Okay, and also it will help us to solve the SEO problem, because ultimately our JavaScript is going to be rendered on the server, so we are going to give that JavaScript directly to the crawler. So that's the solution to the problem. And again, like there were some situation like you won't find the server side rendering as in more efficient way of doing it. So that's where the isomorphic application came into the picture. And what is the isomorphic application is? The isomorphic application are the application where you will be having both the rendering all together, a server side rendering as well as the client side rendering. So in gist, what you have to remember about this is the initial rendering will happen using server, and the next navigation will happen will taken care by the client side routing. So this is what the figure is. The first rendering will happen by server, and the next will be happen by the browser, so that the initial page load time will be lesser, and when navigating between the pages, the browser will take care of the front end side, so that will be obviously going to UX will be much better. So to give a gist about whatever we have we have look at till now, so let me summarize this in a one image. So earlier we have a static pages, then we went with the server side rendering, then we saw that yeah, Ajax and JSON is powerful thing. We can develop a dynamic page rendering like on the server side itself, and make it little bit better. And then we have came to the point where we need a single page application where thorough page will be on client side rendered. And for solving the some of the issues, we use the bundling and minification. Okay, and after that, what we did is to make it performant further. We have used lazy loading and code splitting to make it much better. And later on, we again came back to the same point where we thought like server side rendering is nothing but our way to go. But in server side rendering, now we are doing that, but with Node. Okay, and we move a little bit further. The server side rendering is powerful, but we have to combine with something else, which is isomorphic app. So first rendering will happen with the server side rendering, and then next consecutive rendering will happen using isomorphic app with the client rendering. So this is called as isomorphic architecture application. Okay, so this was the gist about the what is the current wave. Okay, so moving ahead, where current wave is heading. So this is the interesting part. Um, so before or now we are mostly using HTTP 1.1 standard. So HTTP 2 is the new standard, or it is called as H2. So which has made there were some problem, not problem I can say, but there were some things that were making some kind of um, less performant our web request. So basically, what happens with HTTP 1.1 is when you make a request to the server, it initiate it actually say the server like yeah, I'm going to initiate a connection. So server sends back the acknowledgement, and then that's where the connection gets alive, and then the communication happens. Okay, so this happens for each request. Okay, and that give us some kind of milliseconds thing to make the acknowledgement handshaking thing. But in HTTP2, what will happen is once server and client made a connection, that will be alive throughout throughout the communication. Also, they have introduced a header compression which wasn't possible before, and also you can prioritize your framing layer, and also you can do a server push so that the no need to make another call. So that's what the HTTP do. Also, also the new standard, new thing came into the browser, which is service worker. Service worker is nothing but, you can say, this can be like help us to take a use of different browser API, like Navigator API, or if you want to make use of offline caching, you can use the offline caching API. Then uh, then but the but the very, I mean, the catch you have to keep into the mind, when it comes to service worker. Service worker don't have access to the DOM, because it kind of runs on separate thread, you can say, but not, but yeah, kinds of runs separately from your browser, so it won't have the access to your DOM. Also, the one more thing is service worker can only work on the HTTPS environment, none other than that. Okay, so that was the service worker, and then using service worker features, we can build a progressive web apps, and this will be basically using the offline caching API to load the page very faster from taking it from the cache, and it also helps user to, it makes the UX better. Basically, we load it one time and we take the resources from the cache. And also, apart from that, progressive web apps help us to get an access to the Navigator API, via which we can access some of the kind of native API from the browser, and which can help us to integrate the payment gateway and this kind of thing. So if you look at the current giant, Forbes, Flipkart, OLX, Pinterest, these are the giant who are using PW at production. The next thing is web component. So web component is a feature, not feature, standard basically, introduced these days only, back in 2012, I believe. So basically, what you can do is with web component, you can define your own custom HTML tag, and that tag can be act as a component, like what we are doing these days with AngularJS, Angular, React, or Vue. So this will be happening, this will be happening by directly, that will be supported inside a browser directly. So this is going to be amazing thing. For now there is a support, but kind of, I think, Safari is not enough to support it. I think Chrome is supporting thoroughly, and there are polyfills always to fill that gap. And also there is one more interesting thing, which is WebAssembly. And what it will do is it will help you to run a binary code onto the browser. Maybe you can use Rust or maybe Pascal to write your code, and you can run that on the browser. So there is a Wasm plugin, you can use that for doing it. So why this was introduced? Because you can think like some of the operation can be done on specific languages in in performant manner, but not in the JavaScript. So those things can be done in WebAssembly, and you can run that binary code into the browser directly. So exactly what I can say is, about where the current web heading is. You can use SSR plus PWA to make your page UX better. Then you can add HTTP to service worker web components. These are the optional thing, but yeah, you can add most of this, and you can make your project code and very nearer to the current web standard. And also there is a micro front end thing which just came into the picture regarding like management of your code base in very distributed manner, so that remote teams can work seamlessly and the deployments can be seamless. And there are many things which I haven't covered because this is only the 40-minute talks. So yeah, I think, yeah, that's it. um, if you have any questions, you can ask them into the chat, and I can answer them.
Hey Pankaj, now I'm showing it.
Yes. So Julius, if anybody asks question,
Yeah, thank you so much, Pankaj.
yeah,
So the question came from Anmol Jain. She's asking, is the route same as the domain name address, which we give in the browser for server-side rendering?
is the route same as domain name address which we give. So basically, this is point of connecting two things together. So let me try to decipher this. Uh, yeah, so domain name is like, it helps you to uh, get the initial pages or the make and request to the API. So basically, internally, what happens is whatever domain name you specify, that gets converted to the some IP address, and we make an request to that IP address. That happens internally by communicating with DNS. So coming to that point where you are asking the route, what is it? The domain name address which we give in the browser for server side rendering. So basically, ultimately, what happens is for server side rendering, whatever there inside the URL, suppose you are making a call using abc.com/home. So what will happen once that request went to the server? It will check what is there inside the URL. So after a domain, we have /home. So the way server processes, it tries to look up inside the registered route with /home with home, and whatever whatever wherever the path matches, it loads that particular controller method and returns the either API response or the HTML page, and that's where it gets loaded on the onto the browser. I hope I have answered your question.
Cool. Thank you so much, Pankaj.
Hmm.
And if anybody has any further question, please do feel free to post in the chat, and Pankaj will be more than happy to respond to you in the live chat as well.
Yep.
Cool, Pankaj. Thank you so much, and let's move on to the next speaker. For our next speaker, we have Dmytro. As many of you might already have seen him before, he's been speaking in our events many times in the past. And just for those who uh, is seeing him for the very first time, he's a full stack web developer. Over the past 10 years, he's currently working in Be My Guest, and it's a category leader actually of the largest attractions tours and activities in Asia. He's a Google certified mobile web specialist and has an incredible amount of experience doing UI UX, HTML, CSS, and JS. Of course, Laravel, React, Angular, Vue, um, all those cool stuff on web. And without further ado, Dmytro, please take it away.
All right. Okay, cool. I hope you can hear me well. And thank you, Julius, for great introduction of myself. Yeah, today I would like to talk about best practices for building progressive web applications. So far in my professional career, I built two product-ready web apps. One for my work, Be My Guest, and another one for my personal usage. And while building these apps, I find out best practices which brings the user the best available experience, and also allow you to keep performance of your app as fast as possible. And today I will share these practices along as other features of progressive web apps with you. So before we dive into these features and best practices, let me share with you the definition of progressive web app. So in nutshell, Progressive Web App is a web app which using modern web APIs, and also it brings the same experience as native applications. So as native applications, they can be installed to the user home screen. They can work offline. They can open in full screen mode, and also they can access the device hardware. So you can access camera, microphone, NFC, for example, Bluetooth, or other APIs from your device. And everything of this possible with only one code base. You don't need to build different applications for Android and iOS. And as side effect, you will have also version for desktop, because Progressive Web App works everywhere where you have Google Chrome browser. So now let me introduce the first Progressive Web App for my guest, which we built within the company. So essentially, this app allows to scan tickets for attractions, theme parks, and it works on both mobile and desktop. On mobile, the user can access the camera, also on both Android and iOS, and using web APIs can decode barcodes, and our partners can understand if the ticket valid for particular attraction or not. On desktop, our partners can connect a handheld scanner and use it to quickly scan QR codes, or if they have access to web camera, they can also scan tickets using web camera in browser. I need to mention that before we used to have two different apps, and for us was trouble to support them, and especially adding new features, because we had to keep adding them in two different code bases. And with the introduction of Progressive Web App solution, we have one code base. We can add features very fast, and also we deploy them to user without the need to push changes to app stores. And the second app is app we built 1 year ago. It's app for parcel tracking. Here you can track packages from around 600 logistic companies. You can type the code manually, or you can use, as you saw on the screen, the camera. Again, this using web APIs, nothing from the native stack. And I think now it's very useful, especially with a lot of people sitting at home and ordering online. So yeah, if you wait for some deliveries, just check this application. And now let's talk about best practices, starting from the first logical point, home screen installation. So when the user first opens your app browser, and when your app meet installation criteria, then Google Chrome will show a mini info bar to the user, suggesting to add the app to the home screen. Sometimes browser can show this info bar not in appropriate moment and distract user. For example, when user finishing the purchase on your website, or filling in important form. And the approach here is to prevent showing this default info bar, and instead incorporate into your app the installation process. For example, how I'm doing my parcel tracking app, I show in install button, and I show in only after user perform some desired action in my app. In case of my app, it's tracking at least one package. So for me, it means enough engagement with my app, and I promote to the user installation process, and then user can install it to home screen and have its own icon there. Technically, to implement such behavior, you need to listen to before install prom event, and then save the reference to the event to temporary variable, which you can use later when you add click listener, let's say for banner or button. And after user clicked on this button, can get the reference to the store event, which we saw on previous step, and then also track if user accepted your installation request or not, and send this result, for example, for Google Analytics, and see later conversion rate for installation button. On this screen, you can see how the icons of Progressive Web App looks on Android devices. So as you can see, the icons looks the same as icons of other native apps. They have the same shape. Icon you can specify on Web App manifest file. And one feature which I want to mention to you is maskable icons, which were introduced in Android 8. It allows you to set adaptive icons, which will adapt to different operation device. For example, in Samsung, the icons have a different shape. So having that approach, you will make sure that icons looks the same and adapt to user device. Another best practice is to keep the size small of your Progressive Web App, especially for first initial chunk of data which you send to the user. In my app, I tried to inline HTML and inline CSS styles into one response. And if you keep this response below 14 kilobyte, then it will be delivered in one go to the user. So there is no need to do any other requests. And this magical number derived from Android TCP protocol, which has been used in delivering assets in the internet. And using this approach, you make sure that user will immediately see your app on their device without long loading waiting time. And to help to inline CSS styles to HTML, you can use a main package called Critical. What it's do, it's extract the CSS styles required to render above the default content, basically content which user first see on the screen when they open your app. And then this extracted CSS content you can line to HTML file and send to the user. And the rest CSS styles can be fetched by load. Yeah, it's guaranteed that user will get response as fast as possible. Another best practice which you can use in your Progressive Web App is to use a tool called Workbox. Essentially, Workbox is a set of JavaScript libraries that can help you manage your service worker functionality. So you don't need to manually write your service worker, handle some errors from the server, and it's also help debugging. And there are a lot of different models there. For example, offline Google Analytics. Yeah, Google Analytics can work offline. how it works, it's basically in offline mode, save data to IndexedDB, and when you get back online, service worker will get data from IndexedDB and send to Google Analytics servers. For my project, I using precation of assets like CSS, images, JavaScript styles, and also I using Workbox for routing. So there are great models which help you to handle different paths for your routing in service work. There are different strategies available. Cache first strategy I'm using for assets because I want to give them to the user as fast as possible, like CSS, JavaScript, and others. For API request, using network only because I want to user to have as fresh as possible results. You can check other strategies and apply in your application. Most of the apps nowadays are using Webpack to building you can use a plugin which called Workbox Webpack plugin, and essentially it helps you to integrate Workbox assets into Webpack workflow. There are different modules there, generate SV, and what it's doing there, it's actually taking care of generating assets on their side. If you want more control, you can use inject manifest plugin, and in that case, this Workbox Webpack plugin will generate all required assets to include to service worker, and the rest of the service worker you need to build on your own. Again, you can use Workbox for that. This is example of the screen when you're using Workbox Webpack plugin to notify the user that there's new updates available. And this screen showing to the user that there is updates available, and user can immediately install them to their device without the need to wait for load. To achieve this functionality, you can use Workbox window package. All right, now let's move to Lighthouse. Lighthouse helps you to debug and check the performance of your progressive web apps, and also to check if your progressive apps meet installation criteria. And by checking this tool, you can fix some missing issues in your application, and you can find it in Chrome DevTools. It's available on Git. I think Henry will talk about this tool later in his presentation, so check it out. Another thing which you should think about is how your app will fail, because your web app can be opened on different devices and on different browsers, right? So you need to think how your application behave in that case. For example, some browsers doesn't allow to access to media stream. For example, on iOS, in Chrome browser, you cannot access media stream. And in that case, if I detect that media stream is not supported in the browser, I simply don't show this button. And it's much better experience than you click on this button and we show them, sorry, this feature is not supported. So basically, don't show the button at all. Same approach we use for Explore Scanner application. So if there is no access media stream, we allow to the user to take a photo using their camera, and then barcode will be recognized from taken photo. So yeah, think about how your application will fail in some cases when features are not supported in some browsers. Another thing which I urge you to think about is how you're asking for permission in application. Many of you probably experienced that when you open a website and it immediately asking you, please give us access to camera or microphone, or do you want to receive some notifications from us? This is not the best user experience. In my app, I showing the button which inviting user to enable push notifications only when user track the packet. There is right user experience. Users know why I'm asking about that permission, and they know the benefits of allowing this permission. The same experience I using for asking permission to use camera. I only use this modal window when a user started to, sorry, when the user start to so when the user tried to okay, anyway, when the users try to scan the parcel and there is no internet, I show the corresponding message. It's a better experience than showing famous dinosaur to the user, right? Like, yeah. So progressive web app allows you to handle offline mode experience. The same approach Google using for handling cases when there is no internet access. They also default for offline mode and notifying user that they can enable push notification, and user will be notified when there is new results available for them when network is back online. It's a much better experience than showing dinosaur. Another option for you to distribute your progressive web application is to publish it to Google Play Store. So now the process to publish to Google Play Store is quite straightforward. Here you can see my app published to Google Play Store. It's possible by using Trusted Web Activities protocol. You can see on the screen the links which help you to build and wrap your progressive web app into Android package, which you can submit to Google Play Store. So check them out. And to finish my presentation, I would like to talk about Project Fugu. This project was introduced by Google to close the gap what's possible on native application and what's possible on web. Here you can see on link the list of the upcoming features which will be added to Google Chrome, and you can check them, and if your app need this feature, just wait them, or you can use region trial in your app. You can also submit your request to try some application in origin trial. For me, one of the feature which I waiting from Project Fugu is shape detection API, and what doing, it allows you to using device hardware to scan QR coded barcodes. So in that case, I can up a party library which I currently use for decoding barcodes. And another feature which I'm already using from Project Fugu is WebShare API. This feature allows you to use native sharing mechanism as native application devices using inside your progressive web app. So yeah, it's easy incorporate into your app, also check it and add to your app if needed. Another API is WebShare Target API, which allows to receive content inside your progressive app from other applications. And that's all. Thank you very much for listening. This is my Twitter. You can follow me or send messages in direct open. Yeah, thank you very much. If you have any question, yeah, I'm happy to answer to them.
Cool. Thank you so much, Dmytro. We do have a few questions which our very dear Henry has answered in the chat, but I guess just for the recording, let's show it on screen and let's try to have you answer them as well so that we have it in recording. So, by the way, for everyone's benefit as well, this event we will be publishing in our YouTube channel. So after the event, in a few minutes, then you'll be able to see the entire recording. So the first question was from Varun Goa. The question was, is home screen installation pop-up, does it appear in browsers other than Chrome? And if not, how can we support?
Yeah, this is good question. And actually now only this before install Chrome event Google Chrome is supporting. So yeah, in other browsers, you cannot use it. For example, on iOS, on Safari, what approach you can use? You can also incorporate a button like install application. And in case of Chrome browser, you will follow approach which I showed in my presentation. But in case of iOS, you can detect it in your web app. You can show model how install your application from Safari browser. And basically, you're showing that the user should call context menu and select the add to home screen. And I think the same comes for other browser like Firefox, Opera. So yeah, this is unfortunately currently available only in Chrome. And I heard that other browsers are not going to implement this feature. So yeah, as I said, think about how your app will behave in other browsers. But the good news that market share for Google Chrome is huge. So probably, yeah, in most cases it will work as it's supposed to work.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And we do have a follow-up question from Singi. Will this work on Apple phones?
Oh yeah, so I think I answered this question. The thing on iOS, progressive web app you can install only from Safari. You cannot install it from other browsers because other browsers basically it's web view wrapper. So you don't have access to Service Worker and other latest web APIs. And yeah, it's quite pity that Apple is not allowing this for other browsers, and also it's not catching up with latest features which Google adding to Chrome. And yeah, so their approach is quite buggy sometimes, but basic support is there for Service Worker, for offline mode, for home screen installation. So it's already there. Thank you
Cool.
for the question.
We do have a shout out from Zoe, who mentioned that thank you so much for introducing Workbox. And there's certainly a lot of people here who haven't heard about it. So thank you so much for raising it in the talk.
Yeah, I highly recommend this tool because I experienced it on my own when I developed Service Worker, just using my own code, and it was very painful. Especially for some cases, it doesn't work in some browsers, and it was hard to debug why it did not work. But with Workbox, you can enable debugging and see how it handling each request and why it responding in this corresponding way. So yeah, it's great tool when you're dealing with service worker.
Cool, thank you. We do have another question here from Srikant. The question is, please share your ideas and experience on developing PWA using Flutter.
Unfortunately, I haven't used Flutter for building progressive web apps, but I heard that they introduced support for web features, and essentially also can use Flutter and have one code base and then build for Android, iOS, and plus for web. So I'm not expert in Flutter, so I cannot give you recommendation and ideas on that.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. And also, a bit of a segue. Our friends from Flutter Meetup group will be live streaming an event next week in the morning. So please look for the announcement in GDG Singapore. Then we can ask the same question in that event, and let's see if they can help us out there. Uh, we do have one last question from Varun. The question is, can PWA be listed in Apple App Store as well, similar like Google Play Store?
So the answer is no, because Apple just adding a roadblock to publishing it to App Store. But what you can do, you can wrap your web application in some third-party packages like Cordova and publish there. But the problem is that probably you will have some issues with reviewing from App Store team members and approving your application, because recently I heard that it's quite hard to publish applications which are essentially wrapper of some websites. I just want to add also that you can publish your PWA not only to Android Play Store, but also to Google Samsung Galaxy Play Store. So they have a separate section for PWAs, which called Web, and you can submit your progressive app there. And also to Microsoft Store, you can publish there. But for Apple, it's not the case at the moment.
Cool. Thank you so much for sharing. And once again, thank you so much, Dmytro, for sharing today.
Thank you,
Yeah, cool.
Julius.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have Henry. So Henry will be talking about building a better website with Chrome DevTools. Many of you probably know Henry. He's been like flying all over the place. You know, like you've probably seen him like here and there. But for those who are hearing about Henry for the very first time, Henry is a Malaysian Google developer expert in web technologies. He's currently working as a front-end web developer in Bangkok. He loves to learn, experiment, and share all cool stuff like PWA, Chrome DevTools, web capabilities, Firebase, and so much more. So we do look forward to Henry to take it away. Please do so.
Yeah, hello. So, you can see the title, right, from DevTools. If you're web developers, then you know what is that. Okay, a short disclaimer is, if you're a web developer, I don't force you to use Chrome DevTools, like the Firefox. The Firefox DevTools is very good also. Like if you use Microsoft Edge, it's exactly the same thing like the Chrome DevTools. So anyway, okay, let's start the talk. So I'm Henry, as Julius mentioned just now. So this is me talking at Singapore, the La Coffee meetup. This one not important because you don't care about me, you care about DevTools. So yes, it's kind of funny actually. Like the Chrome Dev Summit extended, like happened like 6 months after the actual event, and the Chrome Dev Summit 2020 is coming soon, hopefully, but maybe not. Just like Google I/O, no one will know what will happen. Okay, anyway, let's talk about DevTools. So if you're web developers, you should use it. If you don't use DevTools and you call yourself a web developers, then I don't really know how you develop web app. Okay, but the thing is, DevTools, I think most of you have seen DevTools at least one time. Like, is this thing what you see right now? So it's actually a very, very powerful web application. And it's like 300,000 of JavaScript, 80,000 of CSS. It's a very, very huge web application. And in fact, the whole thing is actually open source. So you can go to this URL. Okay, oh, by the way, all the slide, the link I mentioned in the top, I will put at the end of my talk. So don't need to screenshot or anything. The Chrome DevTools is actually, as I mentioned, is a very, very big web application, which you can pull the whole thing, like you can run everything locally on the computer. And the code is like quite complex, as you can see here. So this one is just like the Chrome DevTools, the element panels. The code like is this long. It's like it's super complex. It took you like maybe 1 week to like just understand the code. So it's a very, very huge code, but you can run yourself, go to this step, just follow the step, download a few things, git clone a few things, then build it. The best thing is they changed the build flow. So last time you need to build the Chromium itself, which if you're using MacBook Air or the cheaper laptop, is impossible. But right now they built Chromium, so when you clone the project, you just need to build the DevTool itself. Like the whole thing is at less than 2 GB. So it's quite small, but it's not that super small, but it's actually quite big. But it's super powerful. And what I can show you is I can I'm in the DevTools repo, so I can just run this thing. So I can show you first. So the command is like this, like the Chromium, the web browser with the custom front-end tool which link to the repo. So if I run it from here, then okay, from here you can see like this is the element panel, the code for that. So if you construct, then you should call this console log elements panel. So let's go back here. So if you open inspect, then you need to wait for a while because my laptop is very slow right now. Okay, so if you open the DevTools, it's opening. Okay, it's come out. So this is the DevTool you normally see, right? But the fun thing is how they actually develop from DevTools. Well, they need to use another DevTools. So you have these DevTools to debug the website, but to debug these DevTools, you need to use another DevTools. So it's like use DevTools to inspect DevTools, and if you want to inspect another DevTool, then you need to open another DevTools. So it's kind of like the inception thing. So if you look here, like if we open element panels, what we should see the console log element panels. So let's see it's working or not. It's live demo, no guarantee it will work. So this one is the DevTool that we want to debug. So let's say if we click on the elements, then console should show something. So if you click this thing, yes, it's working. So this proves like we are actually on the debug mode. So the fun thing is that you can actually debug the whole thing, like it's something like you never see before. It's kind of stupid, kind of pointless. But if you want to add extra feature to Chrome Dev to fix a bug and display this bug, you will see. You can try that, but it's very, very complex. But if right now you have like nothing to do, it's the best time for you to explore the tools you use every day. And it's something you can understand because it's just the HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So it sounds not complex, but it's very complex. But have some fun doing that. It's quite stupid, but yeah, why not? Okay, let's go back to the talk. Let me close this thing. So then now you know like what is Chrome DevTools. DevTools is actually a very, very huge application, and you have DevTools and your browser. So what's in between, how the DevTools talk to the browser. And you use something called CDP, the Chrome DevTool protocol. So they use the protocol to talk to each other. If you use Puppeteer before, it's exactly the same thing. So that the Puppeteer use the Chrome DevTool protocol to talk to the browser in headless mode. So you can, let's say in Puppeteer, you can take a screenshot, but actually it's the Puppeteer, you call it the protocol to take a screenshot. So the Puppeteer is just like a wrapper, like a library for the DevTool protocol. It's kind of interesting to see like how powerful Puppeteer is. And it's so powerful is because DevTools is super powerful. You can explore your own. Puppeteer is super fun. You can use it to do a lot of stuff. Take screenshot, do server-side render. You can use it to do testing, whatever. But actually, anything you can do on DevTools, you can do on Puppeteer, like most of the stuff. But today our focus is focused on the DevTools on your side, on the front end part. So, but before that, if you are using like, if you build with framework, then there are a lot of like the Chrome DevTools extension that you can use. Like we have React, Angular, Preact, Vue.js, which is like the most popular is React, like 2 million active user. So it's a very, very powerful tool for the DevTools, which I recommend you to install. So let's talk about the Chrome DevTools itself. So right now, just to let you know, I'm using on Chrome Canary, which is a Chrome 82. Is it? Oh no, Chrome 84. The latest version of Canary is Chrome 84 because we are developers, so we should be living on those dangerous places. So yeah, use Canary. If it crashes, then it crashes. Okay, so the first thing is to do, if you are using Canary, then you don't need to do this. It's enabled by default. If you're using Chrome Stable, then if you want to get all the latest and greatest feature from DevTools, then you enable this flex. It's super awesome. You get a lot of stuff. Okay, that's the first thing. And the second thing is, a small thing is that if you build web app with like, you want to test it on the Facebook browser, as you know, it sucks, it's horrible. But if you want to debug it, you can actually use Chrome to do it. So what you can do is you go to the Chrome inspect, and you actually can inspect the browser running on the Android devices, and also to inspect the Facebook internet browser. But unfortunately, it doesn't work on iOS because, you know, iOS sucks. Sorry. But anyway, okay, one more thing. If you use VS Code or use Sublime, then you should know about something called command menu, the Command Shift P. It's like, if on VS Code, you know the Command Shift P, it shows you this thing and you type all the commands. You don't need to find where is it. For the Chrome DevTools, it has exactly the same thing. So again, Command Shift P, if you're using Windows 10, is Control Shift P. Then if you do it, then this thing will appear. Then you can type whatever command you want. Like if you want to show the network panel, then you just type network and press enter, it will show it. So like a easier way because you don't need to find like where is the panel. Anyway, by the way, if you have any question, you can drop your comment or question on your right hand side, which is here or here. Yeah, so either side or on the below. So I can see your message on, I have another screen, so I can see you live. So yeah. Okay, let's begin. So let's start with something new. It's called CSS Overview. It's one of the newest features that's coming to Chrome DevTools. I think it's still in Canary. It's not in stable yet. But it's something very, very powerful that you can use. So let's say if I go to like the Google blog. So it's basically it gives you an overview of a CSS. I'm talking bullshit. CSS overview, that's a definition. So what can you do with the CSS overview is basically it gives you a very, very detailed overview of your CSS. So what you need to do is you go to the CSS overview, make sure you're on Canary. Then you click on the capture overview. You scan through all the CSS file, and you generate a small report, like similar to Lighthouse, but this one is just for the CSS, and it gives you all the information. Give you all the information about the CSS that you use in this website. So you can see like this website is used like background color. There's a few color for the text color that I've used like 12. Few color which I think you use it on the SVG. That you can see all the information in a very, very easy way. You don't need to guess like like one of my favorite thing is that the media query. So sometimes I have a bad practice that sometimes the media query on some page I use like 1000 px, some page I use 860. So it's not standardized, but from here you can go through like, everything is very clear. Like make sure you don't have any weird media query that you use. And you can use it like you have the unused declaration, like you declare in your CSS but you didn't use it. So the CSS overview is a newer set. I can say it's one of the powerful features that is coming to the Chrome DevTools. And that's why I love Chrome DevTools so much. Okay, next thing is tooltip. I think most of you use this before, but if you're using Canary, then there's a new design. So if you hover on any element, so you can see that the tooltip come out, but on the latest Canary, they provide you more information like the accessibility stuff. So not only they show you the color contrast, but they also show you the area name, the area role, like is it keyboard focusable? So for those people using browser web not using touchscreen or touchpad, they use the keyboard, then you can see directly from the tooltip. So it's getting more and more powerful. So one of the examples is it actually supports like live updating. How should I do? Here. Is it working? No, it's not working. I don't know why. But anyway, so you can see more information directly from the tooltip. Useful for like if you want to make sure your design everything is correct. Here you go. And the next thing is the change color format. So what is this? So let's say I have an example of the color. Maybe I can zoom in a bit. Okay. So we have a color. Right now I'm using hex. So you can click on this thing, a color picker will pop out. So you can use it to change between RGBA, the HSLA, and hex code. So you can see here, but the problem is sometimes like your designer give you hex, but on your website you actually use RGBA. So what can you do is you don't need to click on this thing and change like this. You can just hover on this thing and you press shift and click it. You can just swap it between like this. Hold your shift button and just click it. So that make your coding speed faster. And also coming on Canary is a new changes they call the modern CSS color syntax. It's good and bad. Some people like it, some people hate it. For the feedback, what I can see right now is not very good. So if you use the hex code, the RGB, if you use the RGB, you know that RGB like 255, 255, 255. But the modern color syntax doesn't have the comma because no point to have comma. This is what they think. So they want to save a few bytes by remove the comma. So what I can see, like if you change from here, it will generate RGB without comma. Some people love it, some people hate it. I don't know. So it's totally up to you. If you don't like it, you can give feedback, which I will tell you how can you provide feedback to the Chrome DevTools teams later. So this is the modern CSS color syntax. On the Canary, if they change, just let you know. Now you know. If you change like this, the comma will be missing. Okay. So if you use like legacy system, maybe if you break the stuff, I don't know. Okay. Then the next thing is the computer panel, which is useful for if you like your website has the custom font. So I use it for basically most of like this thing, like the render fonts. So what I can see is like this text is using a font called Google Sans. But what I can see here, interesting stuff is the local font, which means the fonts is come from my computer locally. It's not come from the network. So you can use this method to know like it's come from the network or come from a computer. And also it show you all the information, like the styling that actually applied to the DOM. So you can see like the font size is 32. If like let's say you declare 2 font size, but you don't know which one is actually applied to the website, you can see from the computer panel, which is like right beside the stuff. And also for those new in web, you still don't know what is padding, what is border, what is margin, and here is, I guess it's super useful. I can see directly from here. Okay, and the next thing is something called CSS autocomplete. For lazy people like me, and I don't remember stuff, like I forgot how to use CSS grid, which sucks. Then I can just type like repeat then it doesn't work. Then maybe the CSS flags. So we have the flags and justify center, but what's the attribute before that? I don't know. So what I can do, I just type like flags and you just type flags and if you auto complete the first part, the align content, align items, align stuff, they'll complete for you. So you just remember the last part. So yeah, lazy people use lazy tools. We call it improved productivity. Okay. And this one, nothing important, so I just skip it. Okay, taking a screenshot. So if you're working on front-end stuff, you need to communicate with your designer, which I don't recommend because this is how the fight starts, right? This is how you get into a war with your designer. No, just kidding. So if you want to share your design, your web design, the actual design to your designer, you can take a screenshot, right? For those using Mac, you can use the Command-Shift-4, Command-Shift-5. It's very, very powerful. But DevTools actually has exactly the same thing. So you can use Command-Shift-P and type screenshot. Screenshot. So you can see there are a few options of, few methods of what you can take a screenshot. Like you can capture area screenshot, which is you click, then you highlight an area. Capture node is like this node, just this text, this H1 only. Capture screenshot is what you see. But the interesting part is you can capture full size screenshot. So let me show you. So I just click on the link. Okay, so like let's say I want to capture the whole, the full page screenshot. Right? Usually what you need to do is you need to go to the Chrome Web Store and download some extension to do that. But DevTools actually has this feature built in. So what you need to do is just Command-Shift-P and enter the capture full size screenshot. Wait for a few seconds, and it will generate the PNG file, which my computer sudo. Okay, here. So you can actually take a screenshot like this directly from the Chrome DevTools. It's useful for me, yes. For you, I don't know, but for me, it's very useful. Means I don't need to download any third-party extension that I don't trust. Although I built Chrome extension too, but yeah, I don't trust them. So yeah, this is like a powerful feature. One of the powerful features is like directly built into the Chrome DevTools. The next thing is Whizbug. So for those who don't know what is Whizbug, it's like a DevTools built for designer. Because DevTools is extremely powerful. Like they have a lot of complex stuff, like something that designers don't understand at all. But with the Whizbug, is a Chrome extension. You can search on the Chrome web store. It's basically the same thing, but they just remove all the stuff that are necessary for the designer. So they just keep all the important stuff for the designer. Like they provide the tool like for accessibility, the tool for like you can move the stuff, move to where I don't know. You can like move here, I don't know, but you can do a lot of stuff. Like you can change the margin. Everything is just basically a tool, dev tool for designer. If you're a designer, you should try it with that. If you are developers, then you just use Chrome DevTools. Okay, next thing, let's talk about JavaScript because JavaScript is super fun. So let me close this thing. Let's talk about console log. So console is something I guess you use a lot, right? If you doesn't know, like if your code is not working, you just console everything. And this is what I do. So you all know like the console is super simple, super basic. But the best thing is, one thing you may not know is the console table, which you can just print a table like this. So let's say you have the array object, but if you show like this, it's not cool enough. So you can use a console table and we preview the whole thing in a table form. But the best thing is, for those Muslims, sorry, because I know it's Ramadan. But anyway, you can use this, it's a table, so you can sort this thing. You can sort like a normal table. You just use console table, that's all. No library is built-in feature. And one more thing is, so this console table, one more thing is I just realized a few days ago. So there's something called log point. Okay, let me go through here. So if you look at my JavaScript is, okay, what you need to do is you go to the sources panel here and you find your code. The best thing is, let's say if I run this function called log point, then it generates this thing because what I did is like 2 new date and we do the subscription. Then we don't know like what is the value of current. How can we do that? So usually what you need to do is you just go back to the code and modify the code and change that console log current, and you get the result. But you don't need to do that. So what I need to do is like right here we have the current, right? So what I can do is I can right click on the line, then I can add log point. So you can, it's exactly like console log. So right now I don't know what is the value of current, right? Instead of using console log current, what I can do is I just type like current, just current. So we know the value of current if we press enter. Okay. So whenever it runs this thing, if you generate a log. So if you run again, remember this thing. Oh, I just remove it. So if you actually just console log directly in this thing without modify your code, you can basically console log without changing your code. Super fun. It's super useful. So you don't need to modify your code, or if you are testing in production and you want to see the result, you can do this. So what you need to do is right click on the line of code and select add log point. Okay. Next thing is pretty print. So if let's say you have a code, let me show you. So we have some JavaScript here. Oops, I accidentally opened a super big JavaScript file. Then let's say if you open a JavaScript file or any file or CSS file, sometimes it's minified, right? So it's not very human friendly to read. What you can do is you just click on this button called Pretty Print, and basically it will just format the code for you. Just one click and format nicely everything. So it's like this. So you format everything, so it's more human readable. Okay, the next thing is something called the har import export. I don't know if it's pronounced as har or har, but it's something like this. So you have a network request, then you want to like back up this thing, or you want to share the waterfall, the network record to your colleague or as a backup. What you can do is you can press on this button, export har. So you export this thing. It generates a .har file. Then I think it's downloaded. Okay, so what I can do is I clear everything already, right? I can restore the previous network record, like completely everything, including the cookies, the response, everything. So I can just file back the locals.har. If I open back, it will import everything back here. So you can share this information to other people, but make sure you don't leak the cookie stuff because everything is in here. So it may be a little bit dangerous, but if you are testing on development stuff, you have to share it to a colleague. This will be super useful. I actually use it a lot with my colleague because like right now we work from home. So it's one of the easy way to share the full record, the full network record to your colleague. Okay, where's my person? The next thing is something called network condition. So network condition, let me open this thing. So as again, I use the command menu, Command Shift P to find the network condition. So you can use this to basically show you can control the network from the DevTools. Like you can enable or disable the cache, which you can do it from here also. And you can throttle your network, like you can slow down to like fast 3G, slow 3G, or offline, or you can set your own. And also you can change the user agent. For some websites like Facebook.com, they actually still use user agent to check like which browser you're using. But it's not recommend, please use like the web platform API detection to detect what kind of API is supported on the browser. The user agent but it's fun to test it. Like you can use this method to download Facebook video. Like you can use this and change it to any browser you like. Like so you can simulate like the user is on Chrome or Safari. It only simulates the user agent. It doesn't simulate the engine itself. Just remember. So you can use it to trick the website thing the user is using Internet Explorer 7. And by doing this, Facebook let you to download the Facebook video. By doing that, because why not? Okay. And the next thing is server timing is still the network stuff. So if you are back-end developers, this will be useful because sometimes like, your server is slow, but you because like the back-end and front developer sometimes is different people, right? So the front-end people need to know like, okay, let me show you something. Okay, so I'm on wrong website. Okay, if I on this thing, if I go to the BTC website, if I go to the BBC website, so this page is, I think it's like partly server-side render. Some information come from the server. So if you click on the network request, click on the timing, you can see a very detailed timing. You can see the DNS lookup for like 46 milliseconds. So my network is fast, but not super fast. And you can see like the TTFB is time to first byte, which when you call the server, like once you call the server, it starts calculate until the server return you the first byte. So in this case, it's 410 milliseconds, and it uses 1 second to download. But the problem is the TTFB, the waiting time is actually the time that process in the server. But for front-end engineer, they will never know what is happening behind the scene. So what you can do is, on the back end, you can actually set the header, send to the front end. In this case, you can send something like the server timing. So in this case, you can set like the data, hit and markup. Those are the time that's spent on the back end. You can send the information to the front end using the server timing header. And the DevTools will actually show it properly, nicely like this. So you can see like the backend actually use 110 milliseconds. So if you minus this, so it's like the rest of 300 milliseconds means is in the fiber cable. So it's the latency between your computer and the server. I think it's connected to the UK server, so it's quite slow. But you know, in the server, it actually uses like 110 milliseconds. The rest of the time are on the network. So it's a way for you to debug the back-end stuff using a front-end tool. Okay, last thing is, not the last thing for this part is kind of stupid, but you know, some user disable their JavaScript. I know it's stupid, but it's like 2020, why you disable your JavaScript? But of course, you want to do that, like provide the best experience for the user. If the user somehow disable the JavaScript, how you can detect it? How you can detect using the no script code. If you detect it, you can just show. Okay, let me show you one best example. So YouTube.com is a very, very powerful client-side web application. So I think my laptop is very slow. That's why it's very slow. Hello, computer. Maybe I should change my laptop. Like so slow. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, but I can see this rendering something, right? This means the JavaScript is doing something. But what will happen to YouTube.com if you disable the JavaScript? So you can disable JavaScript. So you know what recently I'm watching cat video, not Korean video, yeah. So what you can do stupidly is you can disable the JavaScript from the DevTools. So you click it, you disable it. You can see there's a small pop-up here that tells you like the JavaScript is blocked. If you refresh the page, then oops, YouTube.com break completely. It just shows you the placeholder. So it's actually kind of bad practice. Like you should not do this. You should scold your user. Like what the heck, you disable your JavaScript? Please re-enable your JavaScript. So you can do that by showing like a pop-up using the no script. So force them to enable JavaScript. Is 2020. No point to there's no point to disable JavaScript. Okay, last thing is this thing, emulated device, I think nothing important, so skip. Okay, let's talk about the sensor. So there's a new update to the sensor panel. Okay. So you can simulate a few sensors from the DevTool directly, so you can change your device location. So for those, it's a YouTube live, but whatever. If you use Tinder, PWA, you know, if you want to change the country, if you want to change the region, you need to pay for the Tinder Go or Tinder Plus, which is expensive. But what you can do is you can use DevTools to change the location to like Mountain View, Tokyo, or you can enter your coordinate yourself. And the best thing is you not only can change the time zone, you also can change the time zone ID, which provide a complete time. You not only can change the device location, you also can change the time zone ID. You also can change the local, which basically the device language. So in this case, is ZHTW means is traditional Chinese. You can change it to any language and see what will happen if you change the language. Like if your website have like multiple language support, you can use it to simulate it. Before that, there's no way to change the device language other than you change the whole operating system. And there's orientation, which is if you're working on the VR stuff. So you can use this to like, if you develop on a MacBook, right? There's no the accelerometer gyroscope. So if you flip your computer, nothing will happen. You need to test on the actual device. But sometimes you're just lazy. So you can use the sensor, change orientation, and do this. And if you're on a VR app or any app that use the orientation API, it will show it exactly the same thing. Okay, and the last thing is last but not last. So let's go to CNN.com. Let me show you something stupid, but of course, why not? Hello, Chrome DevTools, where are you? Okay, straight up. So what you can do is you go to console. It's a useless trick, but why not? So you can go to document.design mode. Okay, document design mode change to on. Okay. Then now what you can do is we can edit this thing just like document. So it's kind of stupid, but of course, why not? But you can change anything. This is how you create fake news and share it on WhatsApp. And the next moment, the police will knock my door because I teach you how to create fake news. But you can use the design mode, document.design mode, and change the content of the document. And after that, turn it off. And you return to normal, take a screenshot, and share it to your designer. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay, anyway, congrats Singapore. Okay, okay, let's focus on the last part of the talk. So performance is a big thing for those building a web application. Like if you build a React app, like you send a lot of JavaScript to the user, like maybe you send like 1 or 2 MB, it's a lot, but how can you improve it? So the first thing is Lighthouse. Like Lighthouse, the one you can find on the beach. No. So the layout is basically, maybe you know what happened, I don't know what happened, like the layout is off. I'm sure this is a bug. This is what will happen if you use it on Canary, but anyway. So Lighthouse will provide you a lot of information which is very slow. It gives you an audit of how horrible is your website. It gives you a score on basically all the categories. Faster, please, faster. Okay, so you let you know like right now the performance is 77. It's actually okay, but if you run it on your production website, then you know how bad is your website. Sorry to say that. I used to build a lot of super slow website and get like 3 out of 100, which is horrible. But I can use this to improve your website. Then also the accessibility score, the best practice, SEO, and can use it to check is it a progressive app. But that's not the best thing. If you scroll up a bit, it gives you a lot of metrics like the FCP, like the first contentful page. But we are like, what is first contentful page? And you click on this button and give you all the information in the detailed description. If you still can't understand this, you can click on the learn more, which is linked to the web.dev. It gives you a very detailed information. How can you basically fix this thing? Like how can you improve? It gives you a very detailed information. How can you improve the website? So if you want to improve your website, Lighthouse is the best thing. And it's not only available on the Chrome DevTools, it's also, you can download from the Chrome extension. For those using Firefox, yes, you can download from the Firefox add-ons. You can use it from the CLI, which you can like Lighthouse like google.com. And do that, you wait for a few seconds, it will generate the HTML file. It's from a CLI, and you can do it it's as in the node module, and you also can integrate it to your CI. So whenever you push your code to like GitLab or GitHub, and you generate a report every time you push or every time you merge or pull request. So you can use this to like specifically improve or audit or generate a score of your website. Yeah, like in this case, it shows quite strongly. Okay, and also right now the latest version, I think it's Chrome 5.7.1. There's a new version of Lighthouse 6.0 is coming soon. Coming like in 2 or 3 weeks. This is what I heard from. It's coming soon. It's going to change how they generate the score a bit. So if you see a decrease of the score, is that more accurate? Anything else? Okay, this thing. So for rendering stuff, so let me go to which website is a good website. Okay, let me go to androidpolice.com. So it's website. So you can see this website has dark theme, right? But the problem is sometimes you actually can simulate the. I should go to. Okay, this website is fine. I can go to rendering. So it's currently showing dark theme is because my computer is on dark theme. But the thing is, you actually can, usually if you're on Mac, you go to System Preference, then you go to General, then you change it between light theme or dark theme. Oh yes, by the way, Chrome DevTools actually have dark theme, so you can go to switch to dark theme and switch to dark theme. Okay, but if I change to light theme, easier for you to see. But we can simulate, instead of going to the system preference, both on Mac OS and Windows 10, instead of going here, you can actually simulate that directly from the DevTools by clicking this button, the emulate CSS media feature prefer color scheme. So if you change it, then you change to light theme. Okay, let me refresh again. So if you change it, it simulates exactly the same thing as here. But you don't need to change on the system side, you just change on the DevTools. Then for those, like they have the motion signal stuff, and you can use it to like the prefer reduce motion, which they reduce the animation. And the last thing is that the vision, I don't know how to pronounce this thing, deficiency, I think so. Then you can use it to change that. For those wearing spec like me, then you know if you don't wear, everything looks like this. This is how I browse the website in the midnight without wearing spec. So everything is blurry. So you can use it to emulate it directly from DevTools, and you can change it for those that they can't see the color correctly. And it should show you like a few types of color. Like some people can't see blue color well, some people cannot see like the blue color, red color, yellow color, those kind of stuff. You can simulate everything directly from the Chrome DevTools. And of course, you can simulate either the website is previewed on the screen or print. Print means like you print on A4 paper. So it's useful if you're building like an e-commerce site, you have the receipt page, or your ticketing system, you have the view ticket page. Some people print it, but when you print it, usually the layout is different. So you can use it to simulate directly. So you can see if you print this website, it looks like this. If you on the screen, it looks like this. They hide this thing, interesting. Okay, next thing is coverage. So performance is important, and a lot of stuff will ship a lot of stuff. As you learn from just now, like there's something called lazy loading, right? But the problem is how can you know like what kind of stuff I should lazy load? So what you can do is you have a website. So you use the DevTools, you search for show coverage. So you can use this thing to, let me run through this thing. So you can see like you have the CSS, the layout.css file, like the unused byte are 77%. So you only use like 30% of the code, and the 70% just sit there and do nothing. So maybe what you can do is you can load the first 30% of the CSS. Once everything is completed, then only load the rest of the 70%. This will improve your performance a lot. You can use the coverage to do this. Okay. I think my almost time's up, so let me show you one last thing, which is a fun thing. So talk about lighthouse, talk about performance, talk about styling, about JavaScript. Hopefully you find something new. For those using Firefox DevTools, you know there's one thing about something cool about Firefox DevTools, which is the CSS grid support. The CSS grid support on Chrome DevTools it doesn't exist. If you're building a website with CSS grid, you can't debug using Chrome DevTools. To do that, you must use Chrome. You must use the Firefox DevTools. The good news is, well, CSS grid coding is coming to Chrome DevTools very, very soon. So it's a collaboration between Chrome DevTools and the Microsoft Edge DevTools teams. Yes, Microsoft and Google is working together and to bring the CSS grid coding to the Chrome DevTools. It's coming soon, so it's not in Canary yet. So for those use Firefox DevTools, is because you want to debug CSS grid. Sorry, Firefox. You can do that on Chrome DevTools very, very soon. So that's all from me. And for those, yes, it's time for you to take screenshot. Those are the slides, those are the information you need to know. The slide today, in the detailed way, like together with the screenshot, you can find on the first link, the slide deck. If you want to learn more about Chrome DevTools, you can go to devtools.chrome.com or you can go to web.dev. Okay, just now I mentioned like the DevTools, how you can run DevTools locally, right? The code is on this link, the github.com/from DevTools front end. It's actually a mirror from the Google source.com, but it's still the same thing. If you want to contribute to the protocol, let me show you one more thing. Remember I talked about the CDP, the Chrome DevTools protocol. How actually the DevTools talk to the website? Like it's a dark magic, right? How can I click this thing, then the DevTools can know what is what. So it's used the Chrome DevTools protocol. How can we know the behind the scene? You can see that from the DevTools itself. So you can search for the show protocol monitor. So you can see all the detailed information. Like if I overlay this thing, then you can see this is what happened in behind the scene. The DevTools use the protocol to call like the node highlight request to call the website, and back forward it's a two-way protocol. So you can use it to see the information and the request and response. It's like all together. See, it's kind of no point for you to use it. It's useful for those developing DevTools, but as a developer, it's fun to see the behind the scenes stuff. Okay, that's almost all from me. So give you a few more moments to take a screenshot. Give you 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's all from me. Thank you. You can find me and follow me on Twitter, HenryLim96. And thanks for the Chrome team, as mentioned here. You can find them on Twitter. They are super awesome for give me support. And of course, thanks to GDC Singapore and Julius for inviting me to this event. And of course, thanks to you all. Thanks for joining. Thanks to watching the live stream. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much, Henry. So far, we have some raving reviews with the things that you presented. But as a reminder to everyone, if you have any questions for Henry, please do post it in the live chat. On the other hand, let's show some of the comments about your presentation. The first one came from Varun, who mentioned that CSS overview is amazing.
Yes, it's super amazing, but you need to try it on Canary. But please do it. It's super, super useful.
Cool. And then we have mention from Zoe, who said that VisBug is interesting and just added it as a Chrome extension.
Yes, I will let them know that you just installed it.
And wow, so Varun says that he has never used LogPoint before, and it's actually a savior.
Yeah, I just realized it like last week, which is super awesome, and I didn't know it. So I must share it to all.
Cool. Thank you so much for saving our lives, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a lot of great stuff from our friends here. Jawi has mentioned that thanks for the great talks. Thanks everyone for the talks. Samuel also mentioned the same thing. And wow, Waitipu also mentioned that, yeah, thank you, Pankaj, Dima, Henry. Super awesome talks. And Yeah, I think if there's any further questions for Henry, I think Henry will still be available for the next few minutes to answer in the live chat. And of course, we want to end with something more. Um, as you have seen, right, for many of you who are actually from Singapore, you might have remembered that we are supposed to have a Chrome Dev Summit in February, but then things didn't work so well. We went into DorsCon Orange, and the DorsCon Orange was raised one day before the event, and hence we had to cancel the event. But our speakers are more than happy to actually join us in the next Chrome Dev Summit, which will be in June. We will give you more details, and yeah, just hang on to it. I think we have a lot of really cool stuff to show you in the next event. Um, and before we close the entire event, we will really, really appreciate it if you can share us your feedback. You can use the link below to send the feedback to us. This will help us improve our future events, and this will be a very good opportunity also for you to give a shout out to our speakers. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for being part of this event. We are extremely, extremely grateful that you are part of this event. And once again, stay safe and have a good time.